Here's my story. It is absolutely true. I used to live in Wawona, a small village situated within Yosemite National Park's south entrance. If you didn't know it existed, you might drive right on by its turnoff from the main road, which leads to Yosemite Valley. All the local kids/young folks used to go to a beautiful spot way upriver. It was a local granite-lined swimming hole. One could expect to meet up with a gang of locals there, all naked, sunbathing, and having fun. I never recall ever being there alone. There was a huge fallen tree that had once fallen across the top of the falls, about a 10 to 12 foot waterfall that poured into a very deep, crystal clear, granite-lined catch basin below. When I arrived that early afternoon, I was quite surprised to discover that I was the only person there. I walked over the log, over the falls to a granite spot on the other side. I stripped down and was enjoying the sun. However, I felt decidedly uncomfortable. Even though it was a perfectly clear day with no clouds in the sky, there was a darkness which I just couldn't put my finger on. It felt as though the air was thick enough to block out some of the sun's rays. I recall even searching the sky to see if I could detect any haze. There was none. After about an hour of uneasiness, and with no one else showing up, I decided to go back to my cabin. I got dressed, headed across the log to the other side, turned left, and headed up a small incline which led back to the river. Here's when it happened. As I was climbing the incline, I was looking at the ground, but as I neared the top, my gaze leveled out there, and there in front of me was something. I froze in my tracks. I was unable to move. All I was aware of was two black eyes with a penetrating gaze. And then I became aware of a voice in my head saying, "Deer, no, mountain lion, no, deer, mountain lion." I was frozen to the spot. We, whoever, whatever the other we was, never lost eye contact. I don't recall even blinking. Then all of a sudden I had an impression of an upward movement of the whatever. It was like levels of movement going up to my right. Then I suddenly came back to reality with an almost cartoon-like jerk. There was nothing around but me. I examined the area for footprints or disturbances on the path, but since it was a heavily wooded trail, leaves and pine needles made it difficult to detect anything out of the ordinary. All the way back, about 2 miles, I kept stopping to check behind me. I never saw anything but felt as though I was being followed. There's hardly a day that goes by that I don't try to figure out what I saw. All I ever got was those big, black, unblinking eyes, and then the words in my head. Curious thing about those words. Deer and mountain lion are about as opposite as one can figure. How could I confuse the two? It was almost as though the words were intended to short-circuit my brain. I certainly felt short-circuited. And where were all the young folks that should have been there on such a beautiful day? I was about 28 at the time. I am now 68. Yet I still rack my brain to see the rest of the entity. All I ever saw were the eyes. True event. Okay, so that story is pretty interesting. I'm not going to give my hypothesis on this yet, but I think it's very curious how the entity, or whatever it was he saw, was invisible, except for the eyes. So I guess just the one hypothesis I have is there's some sort of animal, creature, whether from this dimension or this planet, I don't know. But there's something out there that we aren't aware of, at least the general population isn't aware of. Yes, there's something hunting us that maybe even has the possibility of being invisible. So I think it's basically also pretty impossible for the park rangers at the national parks to have no idea of what's happening. So to show some evidence of that they might know a little bit more than they're letting on, I'm going to show you a video now of a park ranger being asked about a missing person and his reaction to being asked and told about that. Okay? So here we go.
You guys are shooting for personal use, right?
Yeah.
She's not paid photographer or anything.
What's that?
She's not like a paid photographer or anything like that?
No, not for YouTube. We're just looking for... You want to listen to it?
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to cover a story on his We just
Okay. All right. Alright. So you guys have to be hard for him to go missing.
His car was found right there in the parking lot.
Something like that, yeah. Okay. Thank you guys.
Okay, so if that's not suspicious, I don't know what is, because basically everything that that guy said, in every way that he said it, was just weird. I'm not gonna tell you what that could have possibly meant, because I don't know, but all it shows to me is that they probably know a little bit more than we do. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.